Hey, Ultimus Flores. So today we're going to be talking about producers, consumers, and decomposers, and how they are very important to ecosystems, to our food chain, and their different roles. So first, let's talk about producers. So what do producers need to make food? Producers make their own food, or glucose, which is another word for sugar, basically, using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide during a process called photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, plants take in sunlight throughout their leaves, water enters the plants through its roots, and plant leaves take in a type of gas called carbon dioxide. A plant releases oxygen back into the atmosphere during photosynthesis. So here we've got an example of photosynthesis. So in order for a plant to make glucose, producers need light energy. Energy from the sun. So light energy. So they need sunlight. They need water. And they also need carbon dioxide. During photosynthesis, oxygen, a gas called oxygen, which is what we need to breathe, is released. Let's watch a quick video more about producers. All right, let's finish filling out this slide. So the claim in this video is that light is necessary for photosynthesis. The evidence is that in the investigation, one plant was in the dark and one plant was in the light. All other conditions were the exact same. After a few days, the plant in the dark, there we go, accidentally deleted the whole thing. So the plant in the dark was not healthy. Our reasoning is that without photosynthesis, plants cannot make glucose. Remember, glucose is what plants needed to survive. Without that energy from the glucose, a plant will perish, meaning that it will die, it will become limp, and it will not be healthy. So those are some examples of producers. Let's talk about consumers. So consumers, instead of producers, how they needed photosynthesis to get that energy, consumers eat to get energy. So us as humans are going to be consumers. Unlike producers, consumers must eat to get energy. Humans are consumers. Consumers obtain energy by eating living things. So living things would include plants and animals. Almost all animals are consumers. Tigers, bees, rabbits, hummingbirds, and goldfish are all consumers. They can be classified in three ways. Herbivore means that a consumer eats only plants. A carnivore, meaning that a consumer eats only animals. Or an omnivore, meaning that a consumer eats plants and animals. We're going to watch this quick video.
All animals, no matter where they live, need the same things: water, shelter, and food. But different animals eat different things. Scientists divide most animals into three categories depending on what they eat. An animal that eats mostly meat is called a carnivore. A lion is a carnivore. Lions hunt and eat other animals, such as zebra. An animal that eats only plants is called an herbivore. The zebras in the park eat grass and other plants. They are herbivores. An animal that eats meat and plants is called an omnivore. A baboon is an omnivore. Baboons eat plants, but they also eat meat. Most people are omnivores too. Hi, my name is Paula Boulay. I am a National Geographic explorer and a lion conservationist.
All right, let's classify these animals. So we've got a duck, a red fox, a grizzly bear, and a raccoon. Those are all going to be omnivores because they eat both plants and animals. A giraffe, horse, butterfly, and a sloth, those are going to all be herbivores because they only eat plants. And then last but not least, we got a snowy owl, crocodile, cheetah, and praying mantis are going to all be carnivores because they eat meat. Even though you would think like praying mantis is a bug, it eats other bugs, which would make it a carnivore because it doesn't eat plants. All right, let's define consumer, describe the 3 types of consumers, and provide examples and non-examples. So the definition of a consumer would be something that eats. It eats to get energy, right? Anything that has to eat something to get energy. And the types of consumers that we had our herbivore, we had our carnivore, and then we also had our omnivore. So examples for those. An example of an herbivore would be a horse, right? Horses do not eat meat, they only eat plants. An example of a carnivore would be a lion. An example of an omnivore could be humans. We eat both plants and animals. Some things that are not examples of consumers, we could have them be anything that does not eat to get, that does not eat plants or animals to get energy. So those could be things like worms or bacteria or fungi. And we're actually going to talk about worms, bacteria, and fungi right now because they're not consumers, they're actually decomposers. So decomposers break down dead organisms. So decomposers are not producers or consumers, they're a special type of organism. Worms, bacteria, and fungi are decomposers. They take in decaying organic matter such as feces, dead leaves, and animal remains. After a decomposer takes in the organic matter, it releases nutrients back into the soil or water. Plants use the nutrients to support their growth and health. So let's watch a quick video on worms and how they are decomposers.
My name's Abigail Harden, and I'm 14 years old. I've grown up in this garden pretty much, it seems like all my life. One thing that I've always just been really fascinated with is like worms in the ground. It's always been known to me that they are beneficial to the plants and to the earth. I've learned more about them through school with biology, which I took this year, and just with being around helping my mom plant in the ground. It's really cool. Like, they were my first pet. When I was like in first grade, I had 4 of them in a jar with just some dirt and some air holes stuck in the lid. In this whole entire garden, there's probably about 50,000 or more worms. I really like the fact that they're really kind of slimy. And I think they do have a personality. Like, they're really kind of like spunky, just like fun creatures, you know, like the way they just like kind of like do like these movements. They crawl around, and not only by them digging in the ground, just like moving, it aerates the soil. It also provides for better drainage. When they eat organic matter or the dirt, when they like go to the bathroom, it ends up that their feces are so rich in nutrients. All it is doing is helping the plants and the ground and aeration and all that. Night crawlers eat actual dirt. These are red wigglers. Now these are different from the night crawlers. These live mainly in the leaf part of the ground. Like you won't find these down deep in the dirt. They like the sun and they stay up at warmer temperatures. They eat all organic matter. And if you see, like, look, there's so many worms here. That just shows like how good the soil is, and you can really see it in just the lightness of the soil and how it just kind of crumbles, but not crumbles as in dry. It's really moist. They have this band around the head. It's always closer to the head. It's called the clitellum, and that's actually where they reproduce. But you know it's the head because that's closest, or you can also tell by which direction they're going. They reproduce a lot, and so they can have up to 1 to 5 babies in one egg, so therefore their population grows rapidly. Night crawlers can't survive a freeze, but they hibernate. They burrow down and hibernate over the winter. This is what we like to call worm candy. It's fruit pulp from our local juicer on 9th Avenue. They absolutely adore it. And they come and they eat it. They end up producing their castings right around your plant, right where this pulp was. So you have your fertilizer exactly where you want it, and you know, all you had to do was put this just around the plant. It's amazing. It just becomes such a more lush, full of life plant. Yay. This really helped me just look at our whole entire environment as a whole, and like how these little things, how you would think, you know, are disgusting and have no like purpose. You know, it's like, why are they even here? It just shows you how like really every organism is like important and has a role.
So in the video, they showed, that girl showed about how worms affect her garden. So the worms in her garden take in organic matter or dirt. So they eat basically anything that is natural that's in the garden. And what do worms release? They release their feces. So when they go to the bathroom, when they poop, that's what they release back into the garden. And how does this affect the garden? That feces, even though it sounds gross, provides rich nutrients to help the plants grow. So if you've ever gone to like Home Depot or Lowe's and you've bought fertilizer and things like that, a lot of times they'll have either like, you know, animal, worm, whatever kind of feces in order to put into gardens because they're actually really, really, really rich with nutrients, and it can help our plants thrive in their environment. All right, last but not least, let's build a graphic organizer to classify organisms. So overall, we have organisms. And those organisms can be classified into 3 categories. They can be categorized as producers, consumers, and decomposers, right? So remember, producers got their energy through photosynthesis from the sun. Consumers get their energy through eating something, and then decomposers break down dead things. Consumers can then be broke down even more into carnivores, meaning that they only ate animals, only ate meat. Herbivores, meaning that they only ate plants, or omnivores, meaning that they could eat both.